This is Tangled Up in Tinsel, Christmas Tree, Pennsylvania Sweet Romantic Comedy, Book 2. Written by Jessie Gussman. Performed by Jay Dyess. Chapter 1. Amber.
I have been given the opportunity of a lifetime. I don't have to remind myself of this as I pull into the wide, expansive parking area of the huge mansion outside of my small town of Christmas Tree, Pennsylvania. It sits on the hill, overlooking the town like it's a little bit too good to associate with the rest of us. I don't mean that in a mean, snobby way. I mean it in an elegant and beautiful way. I don't know. Maybe I put too much stock in inanimate objects, but that suits my profession as an interior designer. I specialize in Christmas decor, especially this time of year. I am booked solid, but yesterday I got a call at 8 p.m. from Samuel Barrage's secretary that her boss, Samuel Barrage, billionaire, had an issue with the decorator who was supposed to be decking out his mansion in all things Christmas, and she wasn't going to be able to finish the job. Would I be interested? Yes. I did manage to control myself, mostly, but there you have it. The reason I am standing in front of the Barrage Mansion in Christmas Tree, Pennsylvania. Technically, I've heard that Samuel's brother actually owns the mansion and Samuel just uses it for his business. I don't know and I don't care. I'm here to decorate it and get paid for it, and I'm really, really hoping that will lead to more jobs for me from our town's only billionaire. I take a deep breath and walk up the steps. I have one day to make this mansion look the best it's ever looked, decked out in royal Christmas beauty. I'm not really worried about whether or not I can do it. The lady I spoke with told me that it was already partially done. The decorator just couldn't finish because of some kind of emergency surgery. There is a huge get-together here tomorrow night, and everything has to be perfect. I believe I am also supposed to have help, and that reassures me as well. But one of my strengths is the fact that I can take whatever I've been given and figure out how to make things work. I always make deadlines, and my work is the absolute best. This is a huge opportunity, one that I do not intend to mess up in any way. I don't know whether to go around to the side door or to the back door or one of the other doors, but I decide that being indecisive is not going to get me where I want to go, so I march right up to the front steps and knock on the door. It opens immediately, almost as though someone was expecting me, and I look into the eyes of a sweet older lady dressed in a black and white maid uniform. She bows slightly and says, "Welcome to the Barrage Mansion. How can I help you?" "I'm Amber Rogers, and I'm the interior decorator here to finish decorating the mansion." The lady's mouth opens in an O, and her brows go way up above her glasses. Then she looks at me over said glasses and says, "All right, follow me." I'm pretty sure she was surprised, but I'm not sure why. She should have been expecting me, right? Was I not what she expected? It's not like I haven't lived in this town all my life. And while I don't know this lady personally, if she works here, she's almost certainly seen me around town. Christmas Tree is the kind of small town where everyone knows everyone else. It's all decked out for Christmas, even though Thanksgiving is barely over. In fact, it's not even December yet. The housekeeper or maid or whoever she is leads me down a huge hallway, taking more twists and turns than I can remember and shows me to a room that is nothing but storage boxes and sheets that cover what I assume to be the decorations I'm going to be using. Maybe I was a little bit overconfident. Here is everything. I believe the original decorator has some notes and ideas written down, along with directions for what she was doing. I understand it will not be easy to come in and decorate behind her, but the party tomorrow is rather important, and Samuel can be a very demanding boss. I'm not sure what she's saying, and part of me wonders if I don't perform up to his specifications if I'm going to get paid. Maybe I should demand payment up front, but it didn't even occur to me. I was so excited to get the call that I didn't even ask about payment. Maybe they're not paying me. But if I pull this off, I should get so much work it won't matter whether or not they pay me. At least, that's what I tell myself as I stand in the doorway and look at the room filled with boxes and bags and oddly shaped sheet-covered objects. I'm not sure what happened to the instructions, but I will find them and make sure they get sent to this room. The housekeeper pauses. Make yourself at home. The entire downstairs is supposed to be decorated, except for the kitchen, of course. If you have any questions, you can feel free to text me. She proceeds to give me her phone number, and I at least have the presence of mind to yank my phone out and plug it in. This is bigger than I thought. I'm going to need to walk around the mansion and see what's already been done. And then I'm going to have to figure out what decorations they have and what I can use. All that is going to take me at least an hour or maybe 2. I don't even know where I am in the mansion. If you could get me those instructions, that would be really helpful, I say, realizing that if I can at least have an idea of what to do, that could shave off some time while I try to figure things out myself. There is no way I can come up with anything unique of my own and even try to put it into motion, since I know I need to be done by first thing tomorrow morning. What time does it need to be finished? I ask, even though I know I have it written down in my phone notes. I want to confirm. Brunch starts at 11. You should be out of here by 10 to give us time to clean up anything that you leave behind. I really can't give you any more time than that. The housekeeper gives an apologetic glance as though she knows that I have been set with an impossible task. That's fine. I'm good at doing impossible things.
Chapter 2. Daniel. I watched the new interior designer get out of her car and walk up to the mansion from my second-story bedroom window. My brother, Samuel, can be a difficult boss. He's a great guy. I might be biased because I'm his brother and I also work for him, but I think he's awesome. But he didn't get to be a billionaire by being nice to people. Although he's very generous with his time and money, and he's funny and a great boss for the most part. But he doesn't accept excuses, not from himself and not from people who work with him either. This interior designer seems so sure of herself, so innocently naive. I'm probably Samuel's exact opposite. Too easygoing and fun-loving for my own good. Not that I'm a party animal, because I'm not. I definitely know how to work hard. But I like to think I'm more in touch with my compassionate human side than Samuel is. And that interior designer has her work cut out for her. Sheila, our designer this year, who took over from Richard, who quit in a huff last year, had the unfortunate luck of needing emergency gallbladder surgery before the decorations were complete. I heard she went through the surgery well, and I know for a fact that Samuel sent her a huge bouquet of flowers. I also know for a fact that there were at least 11 other interior designers who had been called and asked to complete the project, and none of them were able to do it on such short notice. Most of them didn't like the idea of stepping into someone else's design either. Finally, I told Rosie, the receptionist that works here out of my mansion in Christmas Tree, that she needed to stop telling people that they were going to be taking over someone else's design, to play down the fact that Samuel was a difficult boss, and to offer them as much money as it took. The decorations have to be perfect. After all, Mom will be here at tomorrow's gala. If there's anyone who can intimidate my brother, it's Mom. I turn from the window, and my eyes land on the small desk I have in my room. It has the instructions that Sheila left for the new designer, guessing, I'm sure, that the new designer would take one look at the immensity of this mansion and the amount of decorations and need some guidelines to go by. The pressure is on because the ballroom still needs to be decorated. The miles and miles of tinsel that Richard, the designer last year, put up was the talk of the party. Everyone raved over it, and Samuel wants it redone exactly the same way this year. It's a little bit difficult because Richard got angry after the party and stormed out of the mansion and out of his job last year. I'm not sure what all the details are, but he barely got everything taken down and put away before he raged out the door, smoke flying from both ears, and I'm pretty sure he was waving one finger behind him. I think that he might have been having some kind of tryst with the housekeeper's daughter, and when Mrs. Merriweather found out, there was a bit of an explosion. Anyway, my job here is mostly to keep people from having those types of things. I grease the wheels, so to speak, between other people and my brother. Sometimes he even calls me in to help with business negotiations, just because I'm a peacekeeper. I'm good at being friends with everyone, and I never get upset. I grabbed the instructions off my desk, which Sheila had her daughter run over before she went to the hospital, and move out to the immense hall and down the stairs. Sometimes this house is a real pain in the butt, because it's so easy to lose people in it. I'm going to assume that Mrs. Merriweather took the new designer directly to the room that holds the decorations. That's where I go first, but I didn't time it quite right, and she's no longer there. I text Mrs. Merriweather. Where's the new designer?
I left her in the decoration room.
Do you have any idea where she might have gone from there?
I think she might have been going to look over the house to see what needed to be finished.
The only thing that needs to be done is the ballroom.
I didn't tell her that.
I stare at my phone. Why wouldn't she have told her? Another text comes in.
You told Rosie not to tell the new designer that she was going to be jumping into someone else's design.
That's fine. I'll handle it. I see. My instructions from yesterday were taken a little bit too literally. I didn't mean that she could never find out. Obviously, when she walked into the mansion and there were already decorations up, she was going to start to wonder. But regardless, this is something I can handle. I shoved my phone back in my pocket, set the instructions down on the table, and go in search of our newest employee. This is both for her benefit and for mine. The ballroom needs to be decorated and needs to be spectacular. If it is, she will be paid handsomely, and my brother will be happy, which benefits me. If not, I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if my brother gives her an insultingly low amount. and he will most definitely be in a bad mood tomorrow during brunch. And we're entertaining some very distinguished guests. Also, did I mention my mom is coming? Chapter 3. Amber.
It looks like most of the house is decorated. I don't really understand. I thought I was going to be doing most of the decorating, but everything looks to be very tastefully done. I don't see a whole lot where I can add much of anything. Of course, I've gone in circles a couple of times because I've seen this sitting room, drawing room, living room. I don't even know what it's called, but I've been here twice. That tree is gorgeous, and I almost wish it had been me who had decorated it. I love the silver and blue together. They're not the normal green and red Christmas colors, but there is the undertone of green from the actual tree itself, which I think is real. And of course, there are small and tight and cute little red bows throughout the tree. It's very stunning. I could sit and look at it for a long time. I'm tempted to take a picture so that I can use that design as a base for other designs I might come up with. I didn't think to ask Mrs. Merriweather if I was allowed to take pictures, and I don't exactly have time for that type of thing right now. I need to get done whatever needs to be done, although I'm a little disappointed that there doesn't seem to be much of anything to decorate. I turn to leave but stop short. There's a man standing in the doorway. At first, I think it's Samuel, and my body starts to panic before my mind is cognizant enough to tell me that though this fellow looks similar to the pictures I've seen, it's not the actual billionaire. Samuel has had various parties for the town over the years, and although I've never said more than a few words to him at a time, his face has often been pinned up in prominent places throughout the town. This man's hair is a sandy blonde, and his eyes are blue rather than brown, a sparkling, twinkling blue that strikes me right in the chest, so much so that I put my hand up and gasp. "I didn't realize you were there," I say. I take a breath. I'm a professional. I walk forward with my hand out. I'm the new interior decorator, Amber Rogers.
Nice to meet you, Amber,
the man says in tones that send heavy shivers dancing out my nerve endings.
I'm Daniel.
He pauses, and then he says,
I work here.
Nice to meet you, Daniel, I say, shaking his hand and trying to pretend that it's just a normal handshake. It feels anything but.
I happen to know a little bit about what's going on, and if you don't mind, I can tell you where you need to pick up. I understand you're on a limited amount of time.
I would appreciate it. I accepted the invitation before I saw the house and the decorations, but I'm feeling overwhelmed.
It's easy to feel that way. The house can be quite a maze until you get used to it.
It's beautiful and beautifully decorated, I add, feeling like I need to give credit where credit is due. That last line seems to surprise him a little, like he wasn't expecting me to compliment my predecessor, like there would be some kind of competition between us.
I'll be sure to tell Sheila you said that,
the man says, almost absent-mindedly. I love his voice, and I love walking beside him as I fall into step and we move down the hall together. There is a cat-like grace to him, just something that's almost magnetic. I don't think I've ever met him. Are you new here? I ask, castigating myself as I do so. There are so many things I need to do, so much that needs to get done, and I'm so overwhelmed, and the first thing I think to ask is a personal question.
I haven't spent a lot of time here. Typically, I work with Samuel in Baltimore, where his main office is.
I nod and then try to focus my mind on what needs to be done. I've been exploring the house, and I've had trouble finding any room that doesn't seem to be perfectly decorated. I wonder if maybe the work was already done and someone just didn't realize it?
Let me show you what needs to be done yet,
He says, stopping in front of two large double doors that open off the main hall. When he opens them, I realize that the room takes up the entire left wing of the house. It looks like a huge ballroom. It doesn't have a single Christmas decoration in it. She was saving this for last. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it's the most important thing?
Last year, the designer covered it in tinsel. It was sparklingly beautiful, and Samuel and all of the guests were enchanted. However, that designer left in a huff not long after Christmas and barely got the decorations put away before he stormed out.
Daniel pauses.
Samuel wants this decorated exactly the way it was last year.
I wasn't here. I don't know what it looked like. I say, panicking. I thought this was going to be easy. Or if not easy, I thought I was going to be able to do it. Talk about overconfidence and pride.
It's okay.
He puts a hand up like he's trying to calm me down, and somehow it ends up on my shoulder. It's not a very professional touch, but the warmth that comes through is so reassuring that I almost take my hand and put it over top of his. I guess to keep it there? I'm not sure. Maybe he realizes what he's done, because he removes his hand before he can start talking again.
I have the instructions and I have pictures, and I can help you with the decorations. I'll show you which boxes to use from the decoration room. They're the only boxes that aren't empty and won't be hard to find, but I'll help.
I don't want to take you away from your regular duties.
Chapter 4. Daniel. I didn't mean to touch her, but there's something magnetic about her. My hand just can't stop from going to her shoulder. I want to stand beside her and be with her even though I have work I should be doing. Nothing that has to be done before tomorrow, but I had zero plans of helping the interior decorator finish this up. But the task is almost impossible, and I don't know how she can do it by herself. Still, she gave me an out, and I need to take it. I shouldn't get so wrapped up in trying to keep other people happy. Although that seems to be my gift in life, and I don't see why I shouldn't use it. I like to think of myself as a mediator rather than a people pleaser. After all, isn't it better when everyone gets along? I have a few things I need to take care of, but I will be back around to check on you. I finally say, even though I want to say, don't worry about my regular duties, I will help you however I can. I pull out my phone. But first, let me show you the pictures I have from last year. If you give me your phone number, I can send these to you, and you can study them.
Please,
She says, rattling off her number. I type it in and then send her the pictures I have of last year's ballroom. There are people in some of them, but I don't think that matters. Right now, what she needs is a good idea of what she has to do in order to get this to look the way Samuel wants it to look. It's taking a while for the pictures to go to her phone, so I bring them up on mine again and hold it out to her. Our fingers brush as she tilts the phone so she can see. I don't jerk away, but to my surprise, I'm tempted to. What is it about this woman? Amber. Isn't that what she said her name was? Like I could forget. Except that handshake did not feel like a normal handshake, and it seemed to make all the thoughts in my head want to fly away. She drops her hand, almost as though she's having the same problem, and studies the picture while I study her. I don't mean to, but her dark hair is an interesting contrast to my more sandy blonde. And I totally don't know why I am thinking that way. What does it matter how our hair contrasts with each other? Her fingers are tapered and delicate, but somehow still look capable. Maybe it's the way she carries herself, with confidence but not arrogance. She walks a fine line, which a lot of people are unable to do. I admire that. She reminds me some of my mother. Maybe I'm looking for a woman who has my mother's great qualities, of which there are many, but not quite her draconian personality, which can be overwhelming and, if I'm being honest, downright scary. This woman seems to have a softness, which covers a core of steel. I sense it more than I see it, but it's one of those things I'm sure of and don't need visual evidence. I have to admit, I'm intrigued.
I wonder how they got those things right there,
she says, and her voice trails off as though she's thinking about it.
Do you mind if I make this picture bigger? They still haven't made it to my phone.
Go right ahead. Study it all you want to.
Thank you.
She takes the phone in her hands and makes the picture bigger. I know I should find something else to do, but looking at her seems to be an occupation I could spend all day doing. I'm tempted to tell her that I'll give her a hand as she pulls the lip in and bites down on it, still studying the pictures. I hear her phone buzz, and she smiles.
That's the pictures. I'll release your phone, and you also. Although, would it be terrible if I ask you to show me how to get back to the decoration room?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't expect you to have the house layout memorized in such a short amount of time. Lucky for you, it's not hard to get to. I can actually help you carry the boxes here if you'd like.
Oh, well, they shouldn't be heavy. It's mostly tinsel as far as I can tell.
No, but there's about 6 or 7 of them, and they're not small.
All right,
she says, giving me a little smile.
Anything that you're willing to help with, I accept.
I think that's a good thing because I'm the only help you're going to get. Everyone else is cleaning the house inside and out to get ready for tomorrow, or else cooking anything that can be prepped ahead of time.
It sounds busy,
she says as she pulls her phone up, clicking on the pictures and studying them some more, then looking around the room.
I'm ready to follow you whenever,
she says, and I take that as a hint. I start to walk toward the door. She's so determined to make this work. It looks like an impossible task to me, and all I've offered to help with was carrying boxes. I feel like I should help more. I tell myself that if she asks me to, I will. But we get back to the room, which isn't far, and she doesn't ask. I show her the boxes and then start carrying them, and she seems to be thinking about what needs to be done and barely aware that I'm there. All right, if you need anything, you have my number, I say, thinking about how much I would like to be able to use that number for personal reasons. Normally, I don't have a problem being interested in anyone on staff. It's not that my brother has a strict policy or anything. It just seems wiser to keep a distance.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything,
she says sincerely, and it's all I can do to nod my head and walk away. Chapter 5. Amber.
I want to beg Daniel not to go. I want to beg him to stay and help me. I want to beg him to not leave me. But I am an adult, and I am a professional, and I can handle this. I tell myself this, even as I smile at him, and he walks away. And fear crawls all through my head. This is a job that would have taken me at least a week. At least. I would have estimated 2 if I had been bidding on the job. And that's just for this ballroom. There's a table set up in the corner, and I assume that they're going to be using it somehow tomorrow. I take a deep breath and look at the boxes around me. I assume that the miles and miles of tinsel that last year's decorator used to transform this room into a magical wonderland are in those boxes. They're huge. They must be 3 feet tall. I shove my phone in my pocket, deciding that I'm going to look at the decorations I have to work with while I let the pictures I just studied sit in my mind and give my brain time to work things out. I'm not sure how to hang things, and I don't want to put any holes in the walls. Obviously, they got put up last year somehow, and I can figure out how if I put my mind to it. I'm still thinking about those things as I open the box, and I don't realize right away what I'm looking at. But then it strikes me. Daniel had said that the decorator from last year had left in a huff. It looks to me like he left in an angry huff if this tangled up tinsel has anything to do with it. Oh my goodness, please don't let all the boxes look like this. I hurry to open the next box, praying the whole time that this one was put away neatly. But it's a jumble as well. All I can see is a crisscrossing of tinsel and what feels like endless miles of mess filling the entire box. I can't even find an end. Could it be possible that all the other boxes are just like this? I don't want to think so, but I'm guessing yes. Regardless, I'm hoping against hope that despite the odds, I opened up the 2 worst boxes first. But that turns out to not be the case. Every single box looks like someone ripped the stuff off the walls and ceiling and threw it in, without the slightest bit of care for anything. Of course, if the last decorator left in an angry huff, he knew he wasn't going to be back this year and didn't give a flip how the stuff was put away. And he knew he wouldn't be found out either. Who was going to go through the boxes to make sure that he did a good job before they gave him his final paycheck? I press my lips together, knowing that what I have just discovered has made my job even more impossible than what I already thought it was. I think about texting Daniel. He told me I could. He said he would help. But I don't want to take him away from anything that might be more important. I mean, these are just decorations, and Samuel runs a billion-dollar business. Surely there are things that are more important than having the ballroom exactly perfect. As I think that, I wonder if there's any way I could tone down the decorations and not use the tinsel. But Daniel said that Samuel wanted it to look exactly like it did last year. He went so far as to send me pictures, and pretty much the only thing I see in those pictures is tinsel everywhere. It's artfully arranged and does not look overdone at all. In fact, it makes the room look magical, and my fingers are itching to be able to recreate that vision, even while my mind is screaming that there's no way I'm going to be able to get this stuff untangled and put it up in time to make it look even half as good. I thought this was my big opportunity, but I didn't realize I was only setting myself up to fail spectacularly. Well, I've never allowed something like this to stop me before, and I'm not going to allow it now. I feel like rolling up my sleeves, except I have a sweatshirt on, so I push them up to my elbows, taking one more look at the first box of tinsel, and then decide that I'm going to get it out. I'm going to start untangling it, and I'm going to conquer this tinsel and this room, and it is going to be gorgeous by the time I am done. I will not allow myself to think anything less.
Chapter 6. Daniel. It's been 2 hours and Ember has not texted me. I honestly thought she would. After all, she has a pretty much impossible job, getting the tinsel up in some semblance of order in order to make the room look magical. Maybe underneath that soft exterior, that steel core holds a stubbornness that I'm all too familiar with. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm supposed to be going over the guest list and making some last-minute phone calls, but instead, I find myself walking back down the hall and heading toward the ballroom, as though pulled by an invisible force. I laugh at myself. I don't do this kind of thing. Sure, I'm fun-loving and approachable, where my brother is taciturn and known to be a bit of a bear, but I don't shirk my work. Still, I find myself opening up the doors to the ballroom and stepping in. I am not prepared for the sight that greets me. There is tinsel everywhere, and by everywhere, I guess I don't mean like hung up and looking beautiful everywhere. I guess I mean scattered on the ground all around Ember, who seems to be tangled up in it everywhere. I hesitate. A lot of times when people are caught in situations that are embarrassing or uncomfortable, they get upset at the people who see them. I don't want her to be embarrassed or think I'm making fun of her, but it definitely looks to me like she needs help. I seem to be pulled toward her, but if she reacts badly, that will be a clue that maybe this isn't the girl for me anyway. I clear my throat, and that's all I need to do in order for her head to swivel toward me. Her eyes are wide and her mouth open, as though she's been caught doing something terribly wrong. I didn't realize that stuff was the attacking kind, I say, hoping to elicit a laugh rather than anger, because even though in my head I know that if she snaps at me and gets upset, it will show me exactly what kind of person she is and will dissolve my interest immediately, I still don't want to get yelled at. Plus, I want her to be more. I want my gut to be right. After about 2 seconds of her staring at me without saying anything, 2 seconds that feel like years, she finally laughs and shakes her head.
I guess that should have come with a warning label,
She says, lifting her hands. They're both draped in tinsel. She bends down as the tinsel moves around her. It almost makes her look like she's dressed in a robe of tinsel, which is intriguing and beautiful, and a much better use of the tinsel than hanging it on the wall, if you ask me. I had no idea it was so difficult to work with, I say, stepping in and closing the doors behind me. The previous decorator had all of their own people, and we don't have anyone to spare to help her. Maybe that's part of the reason I felt like I needed to come, although even as I think that, I know it's not. I just wanted to be around her.
I didn't realize it either, and I guess this is what you get when you try to hurry. I thought if I got it all out and straightened it up, I'd know how much I have to work with, and...
She sighs, almost as though she's defeated, and then adds,
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. I've been telling myself for the last 2 hours that I can, that it's a piece of cake, that I can rise to the challenge, that even if it's hard, I can do it. But just between you and me, I think it might be too much.
Maybe that's why Sheila had been holding this off until the last thing, I say, suspecting that maybe Sheila wasn't having emergency surgery after all. Maybe she took one look at all of the tangled tinsel, stuck it back in its box, and decided that someone else could do the dirty work.
I wouldn't blame her if it is. I have no clue how I'm going to get this done.
Then her mouth snaps shut as though she remembers who she's talking to.
Please don't tell anyone, at least no one who can fire me. I am going to give it my best shot.
I don't know how you're going to hang it up by yourself.
I figure as long as I had 2 ladders, it wouldn't be easy, but I'd be able to get it done.
She grunts.
But I need to get it untangled first. Whoever put this away seemed to be in some kind of mad rage.
Do you mind if I help you? I say that a little tentatively. I know she's admitted that she's not sure she can do it, but I don't know if she will accept my help or even welcome it.
Don't you have something else you need to do? I mean, I'm not trying to talk you out of it or say that I don't want help, but I don't want to take you from something that you have to do.
Her face scrunches up in an apology.
I don't want you to get in trouble. It's one thing if I can't do the job and I never get hired again, but I don't want to be the cause of someone else, you, getting fired.
All right, so she didn't get mad at me, and not only that, but when I offer to help, she's more concerned about me than saving her hide and her job. So I'm definitely more than intrigued. That pull that brought me to her was right on. I love it when my gut is right, although I don't feel it very often, because I like to think I use logic and reason in order to make my decisions. But Amber is the kind of girl who is more concerned about others than herself, and that's not the kind of person you run into every day. I'm sure I won't get in trouble. I might have to leave for a few minutes to make sure that some things are taken care of, but I can work from now until lunchtime easily. Chapter 7. Amber.
When Daniel shows up and offers to help, I feel like my prayers have been answered. But I don't want him to get in trouble. And he said that everyone was busy getting ready for tomorrow. Surely that includes him. Are you sure? I'll be able to do something, but I'm almost positive I'm not going to be able to recreate the ballroom of last year in one day.
I'm sure I won't get in trouble. I can give you my word on that. As for recreating the ballroom, I have no idea how. If you know how, I'll be here to help you to the best of my ability until we've got it done the way we want.
I look at him for a minute, processing his words. He's basically saying, if I figure out the pictures and know how the decorations were arranged to cause such a stunning look, he'll help me until I'm done. I look back at the tinsel. I'd already decided I wasn't going to be able to do the ballroom the way my boss wants. But with Daniel's help, it will go twice as fast. Maybe even faster because I won't have to climb down the ladder, walk across the room, step back up on a ladder, and tack up the other ends. I do some quick calculations in my mind, based on experience, since I don't know exactly how it's going to go. If we try this, I think we're going to be here until at least midnight. I do think we can get it done, but it's going to be a long, hard, tiring day, and I guess I would rather not stop in the middle. It's going to look terrible unless it's finished.
I'm in. As long as it takes. You can count on me.
I look at him, standing there, saying those words so easily. He seems like such an easygoing, relaxed kind of person. I didn't expect this kind of commitment. And color me bitter, but I've had so many people who have pledged to help me and then never followed through. If I get started on this thing and Daniel leaves in the middle of it, I'm done. But if he keeps his word, he just offered me the possibility to be able to complete this job, and I can be back to where I was when I walked in, thinking that this job could lead to many more with a really awesome client. If you're willing to help me, I'm willing to put you to work. I laugh a little and then indicate all the tinsel on the floor. What I need to do first is get this all untangled. We can't put up tangled tinsel, so I've been trying to stretch it out into lines. I indicate the tinsel that I have finished. And I'm warning you, you have to unknot the stuff. You can't tell where the ends are, and it's very frustrating. There were times I was tempted to just cut it, but if I do, it's going to ruin everything, because then the tinsel won't stretch the distance that it needs to.
I guess we better hide all the scissors, because that's kind of where my mind is going,
Daniel says as he steps forward, moving toward me with that cat-like grace I admired before. He has such an easygoing smile and a relaxed way about him, but I can see the determination in his eyes. I like that. Someone who doesn't get upset, but still gets things done. That's exactly where my mind went, too, and I haven't even looked for scissors because I know I would be tempted. We laugh together, and it feels so cozy. Despite the fact that we're in a huge ballroom and I have the pressure of a lifetime sitting on my shoulders, I feel like whatever time I spend working with Daniel is going to be fun. I explain to him what I was doing, and he picks up a balled-up piece of tinsel from the floor.
Are you sure these people didn't knot this up on purpose?
He says after he's been working on it for several minutes. I wondered that myself. I believe you said he left in a huff, and I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised that he did tie it in knots on purpose.
Well, I guess he's punishing the wrong people, but I suppose it made him feel better at the time.
I guess I never understood that. I mean, I understand that when someone hurts you, your immediate reaction is to lash out, wanting to hurt them as bad as they hurt you. What I don't understand is why. Why do we feel that way? I don't know why I'm talking about that. I should be talking about something light and fun or suggesting we put some Christmas music on to get us in the seasonal mood. Not like all this tinsel wasn't effective for putting someone in the Christmas mood. But he seems to think about it for a moment and then gives me a serious answer, which I love. The few times I've dated, the guys that I've been with have only been interested in talking about sports and cars and man stuff, which I don't mind talking about. But I love talking about stuff like this, where we figure things out together or talk about ideas, rather than entertainment or people. It just seems so much more interesting.
I think when we're down, it makes us feel better to see other people that are down around us. Maybe when we lash out, it makes us feel better to have revenge on the one hand, but also to see someone else hurting as bad as we are. Humans are terrible that way, aren't we?
And I think it's something that's true from a very young age. When a child is angry, automatically they want to hit and bite and scratch, almost as though they're doing that without being taught.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to be taught to be bad. I guess I don't understand anyone who tries to claim that we're good by nature, and it's only because of our environment or the way we were brought up that makes us bad.
I agree. I think it's the exact opposite.
Chapter 8. Daniel. The tinsel is frustrating. I admit that. But the conversation is interesting. Sometimes I get bored talking to women. They don't seem to want to do anything other than talk about people and styles and fashions, none of which I'm interested in. I can carry on a conversation okay, but I'd much rather talk about ideas. Even abstract ideas like what Amber's saying. But knowing that she enjoys conversation like this makes me wonder more about her. Did you grow up in Christmas Tree? I ask, trying to make it sound casual. Maybe a natural stretch of our conversation since we were talking about children having a sinful nature from the time they're born.
I have, I've lived here all my life. I love it here.
Christmas all the time? I asked with eyebrows raised. I can't believe we've never crossed paths before. I don't particularly like Baltimore. It's too crowded and noisy, and the older I get, the less appeal it has for me. Although it is nice to have good restaurants within walking distance, and there's never a lack for something to do, even if it's just to watch the ships come in.
I love Christmas. Maybe it's because I grew up here in Christmas Tree, but yeah, Christmas is the best. And why not all year?
Because you get tired of it? I say, trying to make it sound like it's just a suggestion, not something I believe. I'm truly not sure.
I suppose that's possible, but Christmas is love and joy and peace and giving and even self-sacrifice, which is character building. How could you not love living in a town that encourages you every day to build your character?
Well, that's pretty convincing, although I don't know that our society really values character building anymore. Her look says that she understands what I'm talking about. Her face is fascinating to me, the way the emotions fly over it, and I have to remember to focus on the tinsel. After about 30 minutes, the tinsel has started to fall apart a little easier. I don't know if I'm getting into an easier section or if I've figured out the trick. It seems like Amber has figured it out as well, and we both seem to be moving faster.
I think we all still value it. We just don't talk about it like that,
she finally says. What do you mean? I ask easily as I get yet another piece of tinsel untangled.
I mean that we all value people who are honest. We value honesty. We value people who keep their word. We value people who care about others. We value people who are willing to give more than required in order to help someone or even in order to do their job. We love that about others, but we don't deliberately cultivate that in ourselves. So while we value it, we don't cultivate it.
That probably has to do with the way religion has been demonized in our society. I say, picking up the last piece of tinsel and getting to work. Are those things that you cultivate in yourself? I ask, maybe to feel her out a little, because she seems like the kind of person who lives in a deliberate way. The way where she was more concerned about me than she was about herself when I offered to help gave me a little hint, too.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten more aware of the kind of person I want to be, and the fact that I'm not nearly what I want to be. I suppose it has to do with being a Christian, but it also has to do with just wanting to be good for society. How can we look at ourselves and think that we just need to live for us? Sometimes I think we also just live for our families. But there's no greater good than giving your life for others.
Well, I think it is good for people to spend time with their families, to spend time investing in their families. After all, families are the building blocks of society.
I agree. I guess I didn't mean it like that. I was thinking more along the lines of Pee-wee football, where parents are storming out in the field because Junior didn't get the ball, or crucifying coaches because the last play didn't include their precious little 5-year-old football star.
Oh, I see. Yeah, if we could just get that kind of passion for things that really matter.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe those are the same kind of parents who don't spend a lot of time with their children outside of whatever it is they're trying to push their children toward. Whether it's becoming a great football player or ballerina or, I don't know, whatever parents try to push their children into.
Did your parents push you? I ask, curious. I was pushed, but I didn't take it the same way my brother did.
I guess they pushed me to get good grades, which I see as a good thing, and that can be kind of frustrating. But they weren't very happy when I decided I wanted to study design. They didn't see it as a profitable thing, but they didn't discourage me. I think their goal was the same as mine, that I would grow up in Christmas Tree and find a job and stay in Christmas Tree.
I don't know what it would be like to grow up in a town and stay in that town forever. Chapter 9. Amber.
Daniel's words make me pause. We have almost all the tinsel untangled, and it took far less time than what I was thinking it would. I'm cautiously optimistic that this is not going to be the abject and absolute failure that I had thought an hour ago. But it seems so sad that he has no roots. So I know you're not from Christmas Tree. Are you from Baltimore? I ask, gently probing but not wanting him to share more than he's comfortable with. I'm dying of curiosity, though. I really want to know everything there is about him. It's really odd. I don't usually have this driving need to find out about a complete stranger, but today, with Daniel, I do. He's different in a good way, and I like that.
My dad was in the military. I'm sure you've heard that a million times. We moved around everywhere. Maybe 10 or 12 times during my childhood. I think I went to at least 12 different schools, yeah.
Wow, that's almost one every year.
Sometimes I went to 2. That's just the way it went for him. Not everyone has quite that much disruption. In a way, I liked it. Moving always felt fun and exciting, but in another way, I wouldn't mind having roots.
I can see how it would be fun. A new place, new friends, new experiences.
My mom was awesome. She made it all seem like an adventure. It had to have been hard for her, but I never saw her complain, and I never saw her down. Not that I remember, anyway. I'm sure she had to have had bad days.
I think we all do. But I think it's really wise of your mother to make sure that you guys found it fun. After all, if she hated it, it would be a million times as hard if everyone else was hating it too.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah. She made her life easier by looking on the bright side all the time and making sure we did too.
Is that where you get your easygoing, relaxed personality? I ask, thinking about how he came in and just offered to help. Like he wasn't worried about any of the other things that needed to be done. Like there wasn't going to be a huge party here tomorrow, and like he had all the time in the world.
I guess. My brother's the opposite, though.
He's mean? I ask, thinking Daniel's probably one of the nicest men I've met. He doesn't seem to need to brag or talk himself up. And he's been untangling Tinsel for almost an hour, and he's not impatient or upset or flustered in any way. He laughs, kind of as I meant, but then he shakes his head.
No, he's a great guy. He really is. He's just a lot more serious than I am. I suppose older siblings have a tendency to be controlling and sometimes driven, and he's definitely the stereotypical oldest, type A personality. But he's a great guy, like you said.
He sets his tinsel down almost at the same time I do, and then I put my hands on my hips. Well, stage 1 of the process is finished. He laughs.
It's that big of a job? We have stages?
We sure do. It was a little overwhelming to do it any other way. For the next few minutes, I show him what I think the trick was for last year. We're going to be hanging the tinsel from the almost invisible wire that's on the ceiling around the large chandelier, and it's going to go to every spot in the room, with the extra hanging down the walls, and that's what will create the illusion of being in a room that is entirely made of tinsel.
I'll be the one to do the outside of the room, unless you think that I can't.
I think that's going to be the harder job, and I was going to take it, I say as I walk beside him, over to the side of the room where the two large ladders are.
That's why I volunteered for it. Whoever's on the outside of the room will have to move their ladder a lot more, and I hope you don't get offended by this, but God made me with the type of body that's better at moving ladders than what you have.
It seems a little personal that he's talking about our bodies, but it's in a general way and not offensive at all. Plus, he's right. You're not going to offend me over that. I walked the perimeter of the room, and there are small hooks along the outside right below the ceiling. They're wide and they blend in with the wall, but I think that's where the tinsel gets hooked.
Oh, I see. That should be easy then.
It should be, except there's so many of them, and I guess we'll see how well they stay on the hooks. There might be more to trip us up than what we think. I set my ladder down in the middle of the room, and he stops beside me.
Whatever it is, we'll figure it out.
His eyes shine down into mine, and my mouth opens, but no words come out. I hate it when it does that, but I love this. This feeling of the two of us working together on a job that he doesn't have to have any responsibility for at all. He's making me feel like he truly is the kind of person who cares, and making a warmth spread from my heart out my arms and legs, and I feel my fingers and toes tingle. Thank you, I managed to say. I want to say something witty, something impressive, but that's all I can get out of my mouth. He grins, a lopsided grin that makes my heart do a flip, and part of me wishes that it wouldn't, since I'm already having so much trouble.
I'm glad I stopped in. I didn't know decorating could be so much fun.
He murmurs in a low tone that doesn't do anything to stop the flipping of my heart or the tingling of my appendages. I do it for a living, but this is definitely the best time I've ever had. I think it's the company. That seems like a rather bold statement, but it's the truth. I've never worked with anyone who has been so much fun, so considerate, so sweet, and that makes me feel like I need to pull away even more.
I guess I could say the same,
he says.
Chapter 10. Daniel. I know I'm supposed to carry my ladder to the other side of the room, but when she stops in the middle, I stop with her, and now I seem to be caught in her eyes, which I would have laughed about even an hour ago, but I can't seem to get myself to move. I want to say something personal, ask if I'm the only one feeling this way, but that doesn't seem appropriate. She hasn't been acting like it, but this has to be a huge weight on her shoulders, getting this put together. It could be really big for her career. Samuel is my brother, but he's also a billionaire, and I know that people rush to please him. I like that while Amber obviously did not turn down the opportunity to work with him, she also is not willing to mow down anyone who stands in her way in order to impress him, the way I've seen many people do. I clear my throat and reluctantly break eye contact with her, picking up my ladder and walking away. So, have you ever met your boss? I ask casually, knowing that most people who work for Samuel have not met him but are dying to.
No, I've seen pictures of him, and I might have seen him once or twice around town, but I've never spoken with him.
So, is that why you're here, hoping to forge a relationship with him?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't hope this job would lead to more and better jobs. Perhaps I wouldn't mind being the head decorator for every event that happens here at the mansion. I mean, that would be pretty much a dream job, being able to work in Christmas tree and do what I love.
I see, I say, and her answer does not disappoint me. But maybe she's holding back. Maybe it's not just about the work. Because I can't blame her for wanting to do this job to turn it into more. Of course. I heard he's single, I say offhandedly as I set my ladder down and walk back to Amber, who's holding the first long string of tinsel. She shrugs.
I guess I don't really care about that. I mean, I do know people who are interested in him solely because he's a billionaire, but I guess that's just not the way I work.
You hate money, I say as I stop in front of her and take the tinsel from her hand. Our fingers brush, and I don't turn away right away. Rather, I'm looking at her face as she answers, and I can see nothing but honesty on it.
Of course not. We all need money. But I guess I just am not interested in a man because of his bank account. I'm more interested in what we were talking about earlier. Character, integrity, how he's trying to improve himself, and how he puts those things in practice.
I jerk my head up and start to walk away.
Kind of like you,
she says, and I stumble. I catch myself and look over my shoulder. Me?
Yeah. Look at you helping me when you don't have to. No one asked you to. And you volunteered to do the outside of the room because you thought it would be harder. I mean, people like that don't just drop off trees.
Tell me about it. I know exactly what she's talking about, and I'm feeling the same way about her. That's the exact same reason you were going to do the outside of the room, I say casually as I make it to the ladder and climb up.
True,
she says, sounding dismissive as she climbs up on the ladder and finds the hook at the end of the tinsel.
I don't know if they left the hooks in all of these, but I kept wondering why I was catching my fingers on the sharp hooks, and I bet there's a hook there toward the end for you,
she says, and sure enough, as the tinsel slips through my fingers, I feel the loop that goes over the hook on the wall. You're right, I say. What about that? I step down from the ladder and step back, admiring her first tinsel.
I wondered how we were going to get the drape to be perfectly even, and I don't think it was something I even needed to worry about,
she says, and there's no mistaking the excitement in her voice. You just need to find the side with the hook and keep it with you, I say as I walk back toward her. I'll have to move the ladder up eventually, but I can probably do 2 or 3 more where it's sitting right here.
That's right. I still think it's going to be midnight until we're finished, but for the first time since I saw the tinsel, I feel like we're going to get it done.
Her excitement is contagious, and this time, as I take the tinsel from her, I deliberately brush her fingers with mine while I'm watching her face. Her eyes widen a bit, and her expression says exactly how I feel. Neither one of us mind at all. Chapter 11. Amber.
We've been playing this little game of him brushing my fingers every time he takes a strand of tinsel from me. I gotta say, I've been enjoying it. We have the ballroom about half done when he takes a strand of tinsel, brushes my fingers, and we smile at each other. Then my stomach growls. I could die. I have really been having fun with this guy, and I don't know, it's just been a morning. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've been working since I got here at 7. Still, it's only been a few hours, but I really like him. He's fun and yet not goofy. He's intelligent but not so serious that I don't feel like I can talk to him. And there is this attraction between us that I'm pretty sure is mostly because of his character and the way he treats me.
It's time to break for lunch,
He says. My cheeks must be 16 shades of red, but he gently pulls the tinsel from my hands, somehow getting it from me and holding it in one hand while wrapping his fingers around mine, and before I know it, we're holding hands.
Eat lunch with me?
He says. At this point, I'm pretty sure if he asked me to go slop the hogs, I would happily skip out on all my duties to go help him. I lift my shoulders. I didn't even think about bringing lunch. It was so last minute, and I wasn't expecting to eat.
I know people who know people. I'm pretty sure I can grab some food in the kitchen. If I have any experience in this type of thing, they've made a few things for tomorrow that didn't quite turn out, and they'd be more than happy to have us help them get them off their hands.
He knows people who know people? Maybe he's higher up on the totem pole than what I was expecting. I'm not sure what I thought he did around here. Nothing to do with the party, that's for sure. Otherwise, he would never have had an entire day open just to help me. Don't you have work you need to do? I ask as he leads me out of the ballroom, tugging on my hand a little as I slow, concerned that I'm taking him from something and he's going to get in trouble.
I work on the business end of things. I have a couple of phone calls I need to make, but otherwise, I'm totally free.
I smile and trust him. His eyes twinkle and he says,
I didn't realize until I heard your stomach growl how bad I'm starving.
I've been thinking about food for a while, I admit sheepishly. That's probably why my stomach was growling in protest.
Is there anything you're allergic to?
He asks as he leads me down the hall and then down some stairs. I should have known the kitchen was deep in the belly of the beast. Although, as we come out from the stairwell, I can smell the food, and I'm grateful that I haven't had to work in that scent all day. I would have been unable to think of anything except food. Nope, I can eat anything, and often do. He laughs at my attempt at humor. Every time we share laughter together, it makes me feel like we're drawing closer and closer, almost as much as our conversations, which have been more on deeper things, the things I enjoy talking about, rather than surface things like weather, and that's a good thing.
All right. You stay here. I'll go in and see what I can swipe.
I nod as his fingers let go, and mine slowly slip out of his grip. I feel the loss, but I also feel something that's a little nagging. Why could I not go in too? Maybe they have some kind of sanitary guidelines, but it just seems a little bit odd that I'm standing outside. I shrugged the thought away. I'm being silly, and I enjoy the smell of the food while he slips in the kitchen door. I think I smell a little bit of chlorine. Is it possible there's an indoor pool down here somewhere? That seems a little much, even for a billionaire. But really, is anything much for a billionaire? I haven't run out of things to think about or look at, including the fancy lights that line the hall, the closed doors which make me wonder what in the world is behind them, and the sound of laughter and chatter in the kitchen before he comes out, holding a plate in each hand.
Flora never disappoints,
he says with a wicked glint in his eye. I assume Flora must be the cook.
Come on, we have to go up 2 flights of stairs, but there is a beautiful sitting room on the 2nd story that I think you'll enjoy.
Are we allowed up there? I ask, not wanting to get in any trouble. I'm thrilled that I'm going to get done, but I don't want some kind of indiscretion to jeopardize my chances of getting more jobs. Although the idea of eating lunch with Daniel almost overrides my natural reticence.
I'm not going to take you anywhere where you're going to get in trouble or jeopardize your future here.
It's like Daniel can read my mind. I haven't even talked about it that much. I look a little guilty. Let me carry the food at least, I say, trying to reach for it. He shakes his head.
I've got it. I have 2 waters in my back pocket and utensils in my other back pocket. There's dessert, too.
I don't know what you're carrying, but it smells amazing, and I imagine I could eat all of that and still have room for dessert.
Well, I hope you do, because Flora is going to be bringing a selection of them up to the sitting room in about 30 minutes.
He pauses on the stairs and glances over at me.
We do have 30 minutes to eat, don't we?
I wasn't going to make you scarf it down fast, but I was going to try to hurry. 30 minutes seems perfect. Actually, it doesn't seem like nearly enough time to spend with him, but I don't say that.
Chapter 12. Daniel. I want to take the entire day and spend it with Amber, but I can't forget she has a job to do. It's easy to want to, though. I'm having so much fun with her. I couldn't let her go in the kitchen with me, though, because everyone there knows me. It would have looked suspicious. Amber didn't seem to question that I needed her to wait outside, and hopefully she assumed it was for sanitary reasons. I know she's going to love the sitting room. It is perfectly decorated for Christmas, with a silver and blue Christmas tree in the corner and a beautiful fireplace, along with tasteful decorations scattered throughout the room. It's one of my favorite rooms, mostly because of the big picture windows that go floor to ceiling along 2 walls, giving a beautiful view of the mountains in the distance from one side and the town of Christmas Tree from the other. I can't wait to see her reaction. Here we are, I say, trying to figure out how I'm going to hold both plates and also open the door. She saves me, opening the door and holding it so I can walk in first. This goes against every grain in my body, but since I'm holding the plates, I can hardly insist that she go. Regardless, it gives me the perfect position with which to watch her face as I turn around and watch her come in. She does not disappoint me. She is awed by the windows first.
What an amazing view of our mountains,
she says, her voice a little hushed.
You can see the town, too,
she says, her gaze going to the other windows. Then she slowly turns around, her eyes touching everything in the room.
It is absolutely magical in here.
It's a room for family only. Guests are not allowed on the 2nd story, unless they're staying overnight, of course, and workers are absolutely never allowed unless they have some kind of business up here. But Amber is special. I know I haven't known her for very long, but sometimes it doesn't take very long before you know a person's character and the kind of integrity that they have. I've been thinking about this room and how much you would love it when we started decorating. I knew that would be your reaction, I say, trying not to gloat.
You are right on. Although, who doesn't love beautiful things? And this is just picture perfect.
I smile at her praise and the obvious enjoyment she's getting from looking around the room. I nod at the love seat. Would you like to sit there? She nods, gives me a bit of a shy smile, and goes over and sits down. She hasn't been shy with me at all, and I'm not sure what to make of that.
Are you sure it's okay for us to be in here?
I forgot. She thinks I'm part of the help. I feel like maybe I should tell her the truth right now, because I don't like to continue in a lie. but will it change things? I don't want her to treat me any differently because of who I am. My brother is the one who's the billionaire, but I am a pretty solid millionaire, and even without my job, I could live comfortably on my investments, and by comfortably, I mean in luxury, for the rest of my life. I guess I liked the fact that she thought I was just an employee, and she likes me anyway. I'm sure I have permission, and for this room in particular. Everyone in the house knows that this is my favorite room, and I often use it as my office. I seldom get bothered. It's quiet and away from most of the foot traffic in the house, since almost everyone else prefers to be somewhere where they can see people coming and going. She sits down on the love seat, and I hand her her plate, pulling the cold water from my back pocket and putting it on a coaster on the coffee table beside her. Is it okay if I sit beside you? I ask, not wanting to crowd her, but not wanting to sit across from her either. I don't want to push her too hard too fast, but surely she knows that I'm besotted.
I'd love that,
she says easily, and I noticed that she does not move over at all. I kind of feel like she's happy to sit beside me, too. I set my water down, pull out the silverware, and then sit down beside her, careful not to spill my plate. I don't even know what Flora put on it. I just asked them to give me something of everything that they wanted rid of or thought we'd love.
That's pretty broad,
she says, laughing. They wanted to send me up with salads, too, but I couldn't carry it all.
I would have helped you,
she says, and I feel bad again. I could just come clean right now. A part of me says that nothing good ever happens when you keep secrets back, and if you want to be in a relationship with someone, you have to be honest. Another part of me says I've been burned so much by women wanting me just for my money that I'd like to keep it close to the vest for just a little bit longer. That's the side that wins. Chapter 13. Amber.
The food is amazing, the room even more so, but Daniel is where all of my focus is. I don't think I've ever met a more charming or kind person who also has the kind of character and integrity I've always looked for in a man. I feel like he likes me too, although I guess a person can never be sure unless they just flat out ask. I'm not very good at being confrontational like that, but I think I'm going to need to if he's going to continue to cater to me like this. I don't want to lose my heart and end up thinking that we're more than what we are. I savor the last bite of food and then set my fork down and take a breath. I have to admit something, I say. I try to raise my eyes from my plate, and I am able to meet his tentatively.
Okay, that sounds serious,
he says. He finished a while ago and has put his plate and fork aside. I know dessert is coming soon, and maybe this is a bad time, but I just feel like it's important for me to say where I stand. It's not really serious. I've been having such a great time with you, and you've been so sweet and funny and helpful and just perfect.
Well, that's good. I've been aiming for all that. It's nice to know I hit the mark.
That's just it. I don't know why. He seems taken aback by my statement. Surely he wants to know where this relationship is going to. Or maybe men don't care about those things. Or maybe he just assumed I knew.
Is it terrible that I want to be nice to someone that needed help?
Is that all this is? I ask, and then I flatten my lips. I don't want to push you, but this feels like more to me, and I don't want to make the wrong assumptions. That's going to get me hurt.
The last thing I want to do is hurt you.
I knew you wouldn't do it on purpose. I just know that's the kind of person you are. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't happen.
True. Then I should be up front with you. I've never taken anyone up here before, and I don't usually hang out, helping where I'm not asked.
He seems to take a breath, like maybe he has some things he needs to say.
I like you. I like you a lot. From the first time you said that you didn't want me to get in trouble by not doing my job, even though I knew that you needed help and would have been better off if you'd just gotten my help without question. Your consideration for me drew me in, and I knew you were different than most people I know. I'm looking for someone like that to have a serious, marriage-minded relationship with, and I guess that's as flat-out honest as I can be about my intentions, if that's what you're asking. Chapter 14. Daniel. I feel like I've been as vulnerable as I can be, but it hasn't satisfied her. Did I misunderstand her question?
I guess I was asking about your feelings,
she says softly.
Because I feel like I'm falling in love with you.
She says it in a rush, as though she is a little embarrassed and just needs to get the words out.
I'm not so far gone that I don't think I can pull myself back, and I know this isn't professional at all.
I put a hand up, and she stops. She sets her plate aside. Her hands fall and twist together in her lap. I put my hand over one, sliding between them and linking my fingers with hers. I feel the same way, like I might be falling in love with you, like I want to fall in love with you, like you are everything that I've been looking for in a potential spouse. I know that's scary, because you don't go into a relationship talking about marriage, except I do. I don't play around, and I suppose that's why I haven't had very many relationships. The ones that I have had were mostly about money, but I suppose that's the next subject that I need to explore. But I wait for her to respond.
Wow. I was thinking downstairs as we were talking that we had so much in common, but that's even more than I thought. Because I'm the same way. I don't believe in some of the modern ideas about hooking up and breaking up just as casually as if it didn't matter. I suppose that's why I've never done it.
Her words throw me a bit. The idea that we believe the same way, we've lived our lives the same way, and somehow we finally found each other.
I value all of the attributes that you display. Your easygoing manner, your attention to detail, your willingness to help, to set yourself aside. But most of all, I value your character and your honesty.
It's that last word that does it. I don't have any choice. I'm going to have to tell her. But before I can, there's a quiet knock on the door, then it opens, and Flora comes in with a tray full of desserts. Chapter 15. Amber.
I can't believe the desserts that are on this tray. It makes me wish that I was actually going to the party tomorrow. If this is what they serve to people who are just the hired help, what in the world do they serve to the actual guests? Your desserts, Mr. Daniel, Flora says, and there seems to be a familiarity there that strikes me as odd. Not in a disgusting kind of way, but in a motherly way. There is familiarity and affection in how they seem to be looking at each other. "These look so delicious," I say, and I can hear the breathlessness in my voice. I've honestly never seen anything like it. And that, coupled with the amazing views from the room, the gorgeous decorations, and the complete opulence that surrounds me, I might be a little overwhelmed.
Flora, this is Amber. She's the girl I was telling you about.
Daniel doesn't usually bring people up here. In fact, I don't think he ever has. I'm happy that he's finally found someone, Flora says, and it seems odd. I nod, happy that Daniel doesn't bring every girl he knows up here. I don't want to be one of many. I want to be special. I suppose that's the deepest desire of every girl's heart, to be the special one for the man who is beside her. And for me, even doubly so, since I haven't had very many men beside me, and never anyone serious. Flora talks just a bit more with Daniel, their conversation familiar and easygoing, before she walks out of the room.
You were talking about honesty before she came in,
Daniel says as he adjusts the tray on the coffee table in front of us. I was saying how I know you are honest, and I admire that.
In order to be perfectly honest, I need to tell you something, but first, would you like to choose which dessert you want? Or would you like a bite of everything?
He asks, handing me a small plate and fork. Oh, goodness, it's so hard to choose.
It's tempting to have a bite of everything, but I suppose I'm just the kind of person that likes to stick with one thing. The chocolate ribbon cake looks amazing, and that's what I'm going to have.
Even with his food, he sticks with one thing, which is funny because that's the way I am leaning too. The blueberry cheesecake is calling my name, I say with a smile, and I don't think I'm interested in anything else.
It's white chocolate blueberry cheesecake,
Daniel says, wiggling his brows at me, and I smile. Then we settle back with our desserts. I'm enjoying my cheesecake. It's amazing. But I notice that he hasn't taken a bite. I'm not sure what's on your mind, but I'm not going to run out of the room screaming, unless you're a vampire or something. He laughs, as I hoped he would, and shakes his head.
I'm not a vampire, but I think it's almost worse.
Worse? My stomach plunges. What could be worse than being a vampire? Surely he is joking? But he doesn't seem like he is.
Not worse literally, but sometimes it feels worse. Because when you're in a position like I am, it's sometimes hard to tell why the people who are with you are really with you.
Okay, I say, taking another piece of the white chocolate blueberry cheesecake and putting it in my mouth. It melts on my tongue and is like a flavor explosion, coating all of my taste buds with absolute manna. I try not to close my eyes and hum softly to myself, but that's what I want to do.
She likes it,
he says, grinning at my expression. I nod and then swallow. And you haven't even touched yours.
I guess I need to get this off my chest first.
He takes a breath.
I don't work here. Well, technically I do, but Samuel Barrage is my brother. He's a billionaire, yes. He's taken what he's been given and built an entire empire with it. I have worked hard as well, and I'm a comfortable millionaire. The reason I'm in the sitting room is because this is my house. Samuel uses it as his company headquarters here in Pennsylvania, but it's mine.
I'm glad he waited until I swallowed before he told me. I probably would have choked on my cheesecake, and that would have been a shame because it's really good cheesecake. Definitely the best I've ever had. By far. I blink, my eyes fluttering because I'm unable to stop them. My mind is racing, turning over other things, namely that Daniel is rich. Suddenly my throat is dry, and my hands feel like they're shaking. I haven't quite lost my appetite, but I'm concerned that it's the next to go. Okay, I say slowly. I guess I feel like you knew I didn't know, and you could have told me.
Would it have made a difference?
He asks, and for the first time, he feels a little distant from me. I feel like maybe this is a sensitive subject for him. Like maybe, has this been a problem in the past? I ask, wondering if my hunch is correct. He nods slowly.
I mentioned that sometimes it's hard to tell that people are with me for the reason I think they're with me, and not for something else entirely.
Like your money, I say flatly. He nods. I breathe out slowly. The money doesn't mean anything to me, but it's obviously some kind of problem for him. I guess I'll just be honest. I wouldn't know how to be any other way anyway. I suppose it doesn't matter to me how much money you have. I suppose that the idea that you actually own this house, this amazing room, that you are rich, doesn't make me like you less. But I guess it doesn't really make me like you more either. I already liked you an awful lot. I look at him directly. I'm not lying, and if he wants to think I am or to be suspicious of my motives, he absolutely can. But I had no clue when I stepped in and told him that I felt like I could fall in love with him well before I had any idea that he was anything other than Daniel, fellow employee and coworker, the guy who rescued me from the Tangled Up Tinsel.
Chapter 16. Daniel. That was everything I needed to hear. I guess I shouldn't say it like that, because anyone could say the words. But she looked me in the eye and was sincere. And she'd already told me that she was falling for me when she thought I was just a coworker, someone who was there to lend her a hand. I have to admit that it means a lot to me to hear that. It doesn't matter to you? I say softly.
No,
she replies, her voice firm and confident. Then she smiles, and I know she's going to say something flippant.
But you could convince me with this cheesecake.
I laughed. You can have as much of the cheesecake as you want.
Oh, goodness. Don't say that to me. I could sit here and eat all day long, and that wouldn't be good for any of us.
She's still smiling a little, but she tilts her head like she's concerned about me.
I assume that you had people who have been friends with you just for your money.
I nod. I've been engaged twice, and twice I found out that it was only for my money. I suppose I should have been a little bit more cautious.
Engaged twice, and found out it was only for your money, and you admitted to me just now who you are? I would say that, yeah, you could have waited a lot longer, but I love your bravery.
Or stupidity, I say, and then I shake my head. but it doesn't feel like stupidity when I'm with you. It feels like love. I didn't really need to say the L word like that, and I don't know that you can know for sure that you love someone 8 hours after meeting them. But I do know that you can say for sure whether or not you will love someone, because love isn't just a feeling. In fact, I believe with all of my heart the feelings will come and go, ebb and flow, but the decision to love someone is one that you make consciously, and then you act on every single day.
I think love is an action,
Amber says, almost as though she's reading my mind. I don't know where she's been all of my life, but I feel like we were made for each other. I've never felt like that before. I agree with you 100%. We smile at each other and finish our desserts in silence. I know she has a ballroom to decorate.
So, am I decorating for you, or am I decorating for your brother?
My brother uses my house to host various functions, and that's what's going on tomorrow. He's the one who hired you, and he's the one who keeps the staff here. If he didn't need them, I probably only would have 1 or 2 people, since the grounds of the house are way too big for me to care for by myself. But I love this town, and I thought that this house would be a beautiful place to raise a family, to have friends over, and to have special celebrations with the entire town.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a gorgeous house. But I guess I feel better knowing that I'm working for your brother. So I'm not having an illicit relationship with the boss.
I take her hand again, wrapping my fingers around hers. It's not an illicit relationship if we haven't been kissing.
I don't know why we're not,
Amber says, and there's such an easy feeling between the two of us. It's not awkward at all. I lift a hand and run it through her hair, down behind her ear, and my fingers rest lightly on her neck. Maybe we should fix that, I say, and there's a husky note in my voice.
Maybe we should,
Amber says, and she starts to lean toward me just a bit. I tug on her hand and pull her closer. She comes easily. I put my lips on her forehead and trail them down her temple. I've never met anyone like you.
Same. Although, can I say that I appreciate you trusting me enough to tell me the truth?
I guess it would be hard for me not to trust you. There's just a feeling in my gut that says I'm safe with you.
Yeah, that's how I feel,
she says, looking up, her eyes shining. I smile into them, lowering my head, and touch my lips to hers. I wasn't really planning on kissing her, but it feels perfect and bright and just as beautiful as the world around us. I don't allow it to last for long before I lift my head and put my lips on her temple again. I'd like to sit up here all afternoon, but I know you're going to want to get your room done.
I don't know. Responsibility is warring with what I'd rather do instead.
I bet we could have the room finished by early evening, and maybe you'd like to spend some time with me after that?
I definitely would. There's no maybe about it,
she says, and her eyes are still glowing. I like the idea that I've put that look on her face. The look of someone who knows that someone is madly infatuated with them. The look that a woman gives a man when she feels the same way about him. I don't have a date for dinner tomorrow. It's going to be pretty good. More dessert, more white chocolate blueberry cheesecake. Would you think about going with me?
You don't have to bribe me with white chocolate blueberry cheesecake, as good as it was. All you have to say is that you want me, and I'll be there.
That's exactly what I want to hear. I know we need to go work, but I dip my head one last time and touch my lips to hers, grateful for the tangled tinsel that brought us together. Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great Jessie Gussman audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.